It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Superbike Championship, round 5 of 2017, and we're coming at you from Utah Motorsports Campus in Tooele, Utah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kawasaki Pre-Race Show. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time FIM World Endurance Champion Jason Pridmore. And Jason, we're talking Superbikes, and the talk around town has been, can anyone beat Toni Elias?
What he did yesterday, running off in turn 1 at the very start, gave a lot of people a big jump. The fact that he came through the field, passed everybody, won by 2.5 seconds, showed that he's the guy to beat. Now, the problem I have is he's got a 25-point lead. If somebody doesn't step up and beat Toni soon, he's going to go on a run, get some momentum, and that's what he's shown in the past that he's able to do. I think it's a very important race today for his competitors to try to show that they can get up there with him.
Going to be a lot of action in the Motul Superbike and Bazaz Superstock 1000 class. But for more of what's going on, let's go down to the third member of our team. It's Hannah Lopa.
It's a beautiful day out here, getting ready for race number 2 of the weekend. Super hot again. The wind is still picking up a little bit. I think I might be getting a sunburn. I don't know if you guys have any sunscreen up there waiting for me. You might notice the pit behind me, another day. Jake Gagne's team just couldn't get the bike fixed in time after he suffered a crash yesterday morning, so he will be missing from the grid again today. Hopefully we will see him back for Laguna Seca.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Yeah, big rumors going on about what's going to happen, actually, with Jake Gagne at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. As we take a look at the Suzuki weather right here, temperature up to 90 degrees, Jason, and track temperature still floating about 125.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big key, is that track temperature. As it keeps going up, it's going to make tire life a little bit harder to deal with, and yeah, it's going up the temperature 90 degrees now. Like Hannah said, the winds, even though you can see the flags blowing over there, the wind isn't really that big of an effect, a deal right this second, so it's not going to affect these riders that much, and they'd probably appreciate just a little bit of a breeze and take some of this heat away.
A good look at Toni Elias. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but let's take a look at the Kawasaki track map. Jason, incredible race course here in Utah.
Awesome track, big long front straightaway. We see a lot of drafting into turn 1, big bump in the middle of turn 1. Then you got turns 2, 3, 4. Really, the funnest parts of the track for me are those 3 turns because they're real fast and flowing. Into turn 5 and 6 are going to be a couple slower parts of the track. See a lot of passing and some exciting things going on there. Witchcraft, turn 7, very fast, bumpy right-hand turn with some big black tar strips in the middle of it. You got to kind of just get used to running those things over into the attitudes. Turn 8, 9, 10, up to turn 11. It's a blind entry that you can't see the exit on, so you want to try to get the bike upright as early as you can. Power down to turn 13, another great passing zone. 14 and 15 are both banked, so you can see some different lines in there as we saw yesterday in the Superbike race, and you want to do your best to get out of 15, get a great drive onto that big long front straightaway.
There's a look at Utah Motorsports Campus. Here's a look at the highlights from Superbike race number 1. Jason, this was yesterday.
And this is what we saw. Toni looked like he backshifted one too many, like he said, and it got him a little out of shape. Now, all those 3 guys in front, I'm thinking, wow, this is our big chance. We can go get some points on that guy. What we didn't know is that Roger's going to run wide 3 turns later, and that both the Yamahas through. So the guy that started on the 3rd row, Cameron Bobby, our 2-time defending champion, all of a sudden is leading. That said, he starts leading, he starts get away, he gets into turn 6 a little bit too quick. Next thing you know, he's on the ground into the dust here at Utah Motorsports Campus. Looks like things are on fire, but they're not. He's able to get the bike back upright and finish even though he was out of the points. But this guy methodically started to pick his way back through the field. Gives Josh Herron a little wave of, hope that didn't bother you too much. As he's coming back through the field, Raj and Josh Hayes are up in the front battling away. So these 2 guys are just kind of rolling along. You can see Bobby Fong back there at this point running 3rd, first Superstock at this stage in the race. These 2 guys would continue to kind of battle with each other a little bit. Bobby Fong would close back up. Josh Hayes told me this pass here, he told me this morning was a mistake. He didn't even think it was going to happen. He just kind of rolled underneath Raj there as they came onto the front straight. But while that was all going on, there was some fluorescent yellow catching him in the background. And this pass here that Toni Elias put on Josh Hayes was just one more that he had to do to get to the front of Raj. And he's going to dive right down to the right of Raj into this turn 6 area, let off the brakes, get down tight. And really at this point, Greg, his tires just look better than everybody else's. So not only did he run off the track and come from a long way back, he was able to pull out a 2.5 second gap at the end of the race. And you can see there was nobody behind him when he came across the line to take the win for Yoshumira Suzuki again. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see what changes some of these guys have made this morning, because, again, this morning, Toni was quickest.
And speaking about Toni Elias, you know, you saw that red helmet on his head. HJC and Toni have really partnered to promote the new Spider-Man movie. For more on that, here's a look at Toni's helmet, and here's Toni.
This weekend I will use the Spider-Man because soon will come out the new movie. I like a lot this design. This spider web is so nice and these eyes are very aggressive and I will love to use it. I won with both. I hope win with this one also.
Toni on track with that Spider-Man helmet, and of course a 69 for Nicky Hayden. All right, well, the Kawasaki Pre-Race show is powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And brought to you in part by Dunlop motorcycle tires. The only motorcycle tires designed, tested, and made in America for how you ride. Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus here in Tooele, Utah. There's a look at Quicksilver, latest motorsports Kawasaki rider Bobby Fong, who is one of the top Superstock 1000 riders in the country. For more on Bobby, here's the Kawasaki rider profile.
We did a little bit with the front suspension, but other than that, it was a good race. The track was a little slippery yesterday, and the Superbike seemed to have a little advantage with the traction control at the end of the race, but I think we might find something for the race or not, but made a few minor changes, and hopefully the track will have a little more grip today. Run up with the Superbikes is obviously always good week in and week out. Race 2 seems to always be faster. We'll see what we can do in race 2. I know the pace will be obviously really hot, and we're going to give it our best shot, obviously. I got to get off the line with those guys because if I lose the toe, then I'm just a sit and duck, and then I just have a race to myself, which is always boring. But there's such a long straightaway here, and they pull such a big gap, so I got to work my way closer to them in the infield. So we'll see if our changes give us a better shot for a Superbike podium today.
That would be his third Superbike podium of the season. Well, the Kawasaki Pre-Race show. The Kawasaki Pre-Race show is powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And brought to you in part by Dunlop and the all-new SportMax Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus. MotoAmerica on beIN Sports is presented by Dunlop and the all-new SportMax Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. All right, we're back here at Utah Motorsports Campus, and bikes are on the grid as we're in anticipation of the start of the Superbike race. Let's get down to Hannah with our pole sitter.
That's right. I'm down here with Roger Hayden. Roger, the Suzukis have found so much success this year. You had a hard time keeping up with your teammate yesterday. What have you got for him today?
Me and the crew worked hard last night, and we've come up with some changes that I think's going to help a lot. So hopefully we can put up a better fight. Toni was definitely a step above us yesterday, but I feel like today that we're going to be able to run with him.
All right. Best of luck to you. Thanks, Roger.
All right, so Roger Hayden. Jason, they actually changed what they call the cups on the bike to give it more trail, and they feel like it's going to add a little bit more weight on the rear end, give him more heat in the tire, because he's going to go with the harder option tire available from the Dunlop.
It's something that it's more familiar to him, the setup that they're using with those cups. It's going to be something a little bit more familiar. This track here is a little different than some of the places that we run, so sometimes we'll try some new things, and just watching Raj yesterday and some of the stuff that he did compared to what Toni did, I'm sure they went and looked at the video last night and probably came together with some ideas of what they wanted to do. You can see Josh Herron. Looks like he's having a good laugh down there on the grid right now, and the Mean Motorsports crew have put a bike under him again today that I believe he finished 5th yesterday and was able to just kind of run through, and I know you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's a good story behind that. We'll tell you a lot later as we take a look at Josh Hayes, who had a very interesting, I think, ride yesterday and learned quite a bit as he's got a nice wet towel over his head trying to stay cool in this 90-degree heat. So Josh Hayes starting on the front row. trying to do what he likes to do, which is control the pace. But Jason, I think he told both of us that he just had what he had. Here's a look at the Dunlop starting grid, Jason, with Roger Hayden shattering the track record on his way to pole.
Yeah, 48.9, very fast. Toni second there. Toni Elias second. Josh Hayes third. Little still beaten, battered, but doing a great job. Bobby Fong, Matthew Skoltz. Matthew's going to want to try to keep closer to Bobby today. Kyle Wyman, sixth on the grid. Cameron Bobier, we'll see what he's able to bounce back from today. Danny Eslick, Jake Lewis, who came through from a little bit further back yesterday. Hope to see him up front with the Superstock bikes, as well as Hayden Gillum, who's continues to get improved results on that Suzuki. Josh Herron, Jason DeSalvo is going to start outside row 4. Row 5, Bryce Prince, David Anthony, Max Flinders, and then we got Matthew Orange and Roy Holster rounding out the grid there in row 6. The one guy, obviously, that we're missing today, like we heard Hannah make mention of, is Jake Gagne. A little beat and bruised. Team had some issues getting the bike back together. They just felt it was better to just, hey, let's go through our resources and get ready for Laguna Seca.
A little story about the genuine Broster Chicken Honda Jake Gagne. There's a possibility, the deal's not signed yet, that he will actually race in place of Nicky Hayden on his motorcycle at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in World Superbike on that Red Bull Honda team. And if that happens, if that deal gets signed, Jake Gagne would do double duty, both racing World Superbike and MotoAmerica. That's going to be a big weekend for Jake. And after his big high side yesterday, I think taking a day off here and resting up for the next 2 weeks will be a good thing. There's a good look at Quicksilver latest motorsports rider Bobby Fong. A lot of chit chat about Bobby Fong and how well he's riding this year and how great that Kawasaki gets off the corner, and that comes from the Superbike riders that ride around him.
I've really enjoyed watching Bobby ride this year. He just has his head down and he gets in behind these Superbike guys, and I think that every track we've gone to, he's been really close to the Superbike guys, as has Matthew Skoltz. I mean, when we went and tested in Pittsburgh, Matthew Skoltz, I almost want to say he was fastest, or at least he was very close to fastest at the Pittsburgh test. So, all these guys on the Superstock bikes, if we could put them all on Superbikes, it's going to be really fun to watch.
So Roger Hayden and his crew working feverishly over the night to try to find a solution, because everybody understands right now that when Toni Elias has a motorcycle that he doesn't touch a clicker on since yesterday morning, that he is comfortable with his tire setup and the way the motorcycle works. And in talking with Toni earlier today, he really wanted to emphasize how well this motorcycle is balanced for him, and that he feels now, for the first time all season, that he's able to get into corners as deep as he wants and have the motorcycle move around on the tire like he likes it.
It's always been the key for him, though, hasn't it? Like last year, we heard him talking about that a lot, about how he can start from the outside of the track and beeline for the apex. He definitely can ride a different line than some other people. So
let's take a look at JP's Keys to the Race, presented by Kawasaki.
All right. Who's going to stop this guy? Who's going to stop him? Tony's kind of shown yesterday that he is the man to beat. And if these guys start letting him get on a roll, it could be a long second half of the season. I don't believe that can happen. I think there's some guys that are going to throw some shots at him today. But they really are going to have to. And, our series has kind of gotten nice again. At the beginning of the year, it was a little bit nasty. It could start getting that way again, because they don't want to let this guy get too big of a lead. He's got 25-point lead. Fong, fastest in warm-up again for the Superstock. But that said, this morning in our production meeting, Greg White said he predicted that Bobby could be the fastest guy in this race as far as lap time goes. He was second quickest this morning overall, and so he's showing a lot of pace, is Bobby Fong. So maybe my partner in crime here is on to something, and maybe he's going to go faster again today. Now, last, hotter today. You've heard a couple of the riders, and you saw our onboard screen there today that the heat is up. It'll be interesting to see if that really affects these Superbike riders. And some of our other classes today, it's definitely affected us as far as the lap times go. So it might bring the Superstock bikes a little bit closer to the Superbikes also. So we'll see how that works. And it's going to be another great race.
So look at the riders on their warm-up lap right now, and we saw number 2 Josh Herron back there a moment ago on the HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mead Yamaha. And good story coming out of the friendliest of the paddock in terms of how they get their motorcycle up and running. We'll talk to you about that in a moment. But right now, I'd like to get back down to Hannah, who has a Motul last-minute report. Hannah, what do you have for our Motul last-minute report?
Something interesting that I just learned when I was talking to Toni from Dunlop is that both of the Suzukis are on medium tires, and both of the Yamahas opted for the soft tires. So we will have to see how that plays out as far as tire longevity and things of that nature.
Great, Hannah. Thank you for that Motul last-minute report. So when they talk about medium compound tire, that's the hardest actual tire that's available for this race weekend. So you get kind of two things at one time. They say the hard tire, but it's really that medium tire that she's talking about.
That is right, and it kind of tells me a little bit about what tire wear feels like, and I think that, you know, it's the harder tire is always the safer bet. Generally, when you look at racing, the harder tire is going to be a safer bet. Both Yosh bikes are on that thing. We know Josh ran the softer one yesterday, and Cameron, I'm sure, is on that one also, as Hannah says.
So here we go. Riders getting in position. Grid marshal signaling it's time to go racing. Are you ready for the final race of the day here? It's Motul Superbike and Bazaz Superstock 1000 coming at you.
Oh, Matthew Schultz didn't get a very good jump. Bobby Fong got an incredible jump from the second row, as did Roger Hayden from the front row. Both Yosh bikes got good jumps. You can see Josh Hayes is ducked in now just behind those two guys. Bobby Fong's on the outside of him. Cameron Bobier from the third row is going to squeeze his way into fifth. So Kyle Wyman right there in sixth, but it's the two, Yosh bike, and then Josh Hayes has now got himself right into second. Look, he's trying to take a dive already up underneath Raj.
A much better start in terms of getting through turn one for Toni Elias as well. So it's Roger Hayden. Toni Elias going up the inside. He'll take over position from Josh Hayes for now with Bobby Fong in fourth.
Yep, and so now Bobby's going to have a run on Josh as they head down here into turn 5. You'll probably, Bobby's a very smart guy. He just kind of checks up. He's going to let these Superbike guys pull him along if he can. He doesn't want to create gaps. And you look at Josh Herron now. Josh Herron's trying to go around the outside of Cameron Bobier, which is now going to put him on the inside as they head to turn 6.
And it looked like Roger Hayden was wide and Toni Elias had a tight line. So those riders for a moment were side by side, but it's the 95 who holds on to the lead.
Yeah, this is a section of the track that, talking with Raj this morning, he was going to be working on this little part of the attitudes here, opening up his line. Look at Bobby Fong, just going so fast around there. And but Raj is talking about attitudes this morning, maybe opening up his line a little bit. Said he learned a couple things when Toni was up front, and that's what these guys do. They kind of go to school on each other when one guy's leading to see where the other guy's bike's a little bit better. Raj runs just a little bit wide out of there. You can see him just a little bit late on the gas. But we're going to go down the front straightaway here in a minute with two Yosh bikes leading the way. We'll see if Josh can run along with him. I'm looking to see if I think that's Josh Herron just behind Bobby Fong.
It is, on the two.
Yeah, on the two. So he should have a bike that might be able to roll past Bobby Fong going down that front straightaway if he can get close enough to the draft and then go give these other three guys a little bit of a problem.
Roger Hayden hard on the gas, a little bit of spinning coming out of that corner, and Toni Elias in his draft. So here they come down the long straightaway as Josh Hayes doesn't really seem like he's trying to even get in the draft, but Roger Hayden holds off Toni, and look at Toni. That's his way of getting into turn number 1. He is a little bit wide, but he's going to hold it tighter and then accelerate out. But Roger Hayden has position, is now back there. It looks like the number 2 has moved past Bobby Fong into third spot.
Toni,
Fourth spot, sorry.
Yep, no worries. I thought Toni was going to try to have a go there. It looked like Bobby Fong was having a go at Josh Herron as they went into this turn. That's creating a gap. And the problem for that is, so Josh was able to keep it up. The problem is Cameron's got to try to get by Bobby now, try to do something with him. Bobby's takes kind of a wide line into turn 5, so I'm not sure if that allowed Cameron through. It did not. These three guys are all going at it at the front. There goes Toni with that line. He's going to run it straight in there now. Is he going to run wide? He has this capability of running it in there extremely tight, still holding on to that line and making the turn go. And that's the setup that you talked about just now, Greg, that he likes to be able to have a motorcycle do.
Very unique riding style, and he makes it work for him. And now Toni Elias has a clear track in front of him. See what he can do with tires that are nice and warm right now. Josh Hayes on a different compound tire, as Hannah talked about. He's sitting there in third spot. Josh Herron on his motorcycle. Now, one of the things about Josh Herron and the HelmetSounds.com Western Services, me and Yamaha, they actually had a motor expire on them as they are in their first year of Superbike racing. As they continue to experiment with what's available in terms of horsepower in that motor, they had one let go, and it was Yamalu Westby Racing Team that actually lent Josh Herron's team a motor, and that's the motor that he's on right now.
So chances are that's probably a good super stock motor that he's under, because he was trying to draft by Bobby on that front straightaway, and he had to wait very late till he could pull out of that draft. But as we go down our second lap here, minute 50.4, we're going to keep an eye on those lap times to see where we're at. Yesterday, I believe 50.1 or 50 flat, I believe was the time. Here you go. Cameron Bobier still stuck behind Josh Herron and Bobby Fong. He's just not been able to make his way forward just yet, and we'll have to see if Cameron's able to get that thing going forward. forward. Since his accident on Friday, it just hasn't seemed like he's had the pace that he's had normally. And right now, he's behind two guys that are very familiar with each other, that are racing each other hard.
Keep in mind, Cameron Beaubier, the #1 plate, after he crashed his motorcycle, that motorcycle was taken out of service, which means that they had to re-tech his backup motorcycle, and it just hasn't felt exactly the same as Josh Herrin almost up and out of the saddle as he tries to put the power to the ground.
I've seen that a lot out of him so far this race. Just it looks like his just from when he's rolling through the corner and he just starts to pick the gas up, that little edge grip that he needs. And Bobby Fong's going to try to. It's a very, very gnarly place to try to pass, and it takes a big commitment there. But Josh just made a little mistake out of that right, and it gave Bobby an idea that maybe I can have a go here. It's very difficult to do, but you can see that gap just kind of opening up between 3rd and 4th place now.
Toni Elias last time by a 50.4, the fastest lap of the race. Of course, that was really the first lap that we've had at speed, but he's starting to pull away already. Roger Hayden and Josh Hayes on Superbikes. Josh Herrin, the #2 on a Superbike, then a Superstock 1000 of Bobby Fong, and the reigning champ on that Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing machine, Cameron Beaubier, sitting there in 6th spot.
Yeah, what Cameron really has to do here is try to get a double draft the best he can off these two bikes in front of him, and try to get by and go after those three at the front. Look at the time, 50.1, 50.3, 50.3. So we're in the low 50s, around the same lap times that we did yesterday. But you can see back there, Cameron just can't do anything with Herrin and Fong going down that long front straightaway. Josh has a little bit of a wider entry into there, and if Bobby can get just a little bit closer, he'll go underneath him through there. Now, when we come out of here, look how good Bobby's bike turns. We made a comment about that yesterday. He's going to try to go underneath Josh maybe into turn 2 or 3. No, not quite close enough. So it's going to run him a little bit tight.
There too. Yeah. You see Bobby really get into that bump, and that's going to kind of reduce your confidence on the front end just a little bit.
You're 100% right. You got down to that little dirty spot of the track there, but here comes Cameron. Cameron's he's got underneath one of them. He's got Bobby. Now he's got to try to work on Josh here a little bit, and you can see Bobby there getting just bucked out of the seat right now.
So Josh Herrin, #2. Trying to hold off the advancements. There's 2 Superbike champions going after it right now. Josh Herrin a few years back, Cameron Beaubier, the reigning champ. So much different paths in terms of how they got to this moment. But Josh Herrin on that privateer helmetsounds.com, Western Services, Mean Yamaha, trying to hold off the advancements of the champion right now. All the while, Bobby Fong leading the way in the Superstock 1000 class. And he's got a Kyle Wyman in between himself and the next Superstock 1000 racer.
I almost feel like Bobby could go a little bit faster if he didn't have Josh in front of him there. I think he was just not able to roll through the corners quite as much or as fast as he needs to go. You can see Josh's bike was just a little bit out of shape. Josh is riding extremely hard to try to keep on the back of these 3 guys. We'll get another look at the start here. And
yeah, like you're saying, and on the start of the race, as Toni Elias now continues to lead the way. It's Toni Elias coming across the line at 150.3, and Roger Hayden half a second back from Josh Hayes.
And there you go. Cameron's made the move on Josh Herrin coming down that big long front straightaway, and we'll see if he can start to close that gap to the 3 leaders. We're going to be really, really glued looking at the lap times here. But what this little battle has done is it's allowed a couple of the other Superstock bikes to stay close. Bobby knows it too. Look, he's going to try to go underneath Josh Herrin.
There's that bump, and he does it.
Now he's got to hold it right here. This is.
Oh, and these 2 have a lot of history, by the way.
But that's what he had to do. If I'm being honest, that's what Bobby Fong had to do. He had to just try to get past, because now you're going to be able to see him. He'll probably end up going now with Cameron Beaubier here as he goes in. He goes into turn 3 extremely tight. Now he looks like he's giving him some room. He's trying to run it out, and Josh has just got to get out of the gas a little bit, because Josh is out in that dirty stuff now, and just pushed him a little bit wide.
And that happens. Bobby Fong had position, no question about it, and very aggressive.
Yep.
And those 2 do have quite a bit of history when they were on smaller displacement motorcycles.
But that's what he had to do to now these 2 guys here, they can actually work together. If Bobby can stay in the draft to Cameron and maybe try to work together to close that gap between the 3 guys in the front, if they start to play at all up in front of these 2 guys, they can close that gap down. You can see Kyle Wyman back there, and then Josh Herrin did keep it upright, keep it going just behind Kyle.
So we'll take a look at those lap times as Bobby Fong finally made his way around #2, Josh Herrin. And the last time.
Oh no, Bobby Fong goes down. That is so big in Superstock. And look, Jake Lewis threw him off. And Bobby Fong just loses the front. Going into turn 13, huge super stock 1000 ramifications again. And it just seems like whenever somebody gets a little bit of advantage, it goes away with something so simple as this. Now I'm curious. Oh no, he lost it real early. That's just trail braking into the apex of a corner, but he lost it there very, very early, Greg.
Wow, the champion. Oh, and Bobby Fong can't pick up the motorcycle and continue. And right now, the rider to look for in terms of Superstock 1000 is Matthew Schultz, because he came into this race with a 1-point advantage over Bobby Fong, and Jake Lewis has a 12-point advantage. And in terms of how it's shaping up, Matthew Schultz is ahead of Jake Lewis at the moment, so we'll have to see next time by how this all Superstock 1000 battle shapes up, as now a pair of Yoshumira Suzukis of Toni Elias, number 24, 95, Roger Hayden, are starting to get away from number 4, Josh Hayes, on that Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing R1.
Yeah, but they're both doing 50.1s on that last lap. Fastest lap of the race for so far. Nothing in it, mind you. 50.135 to a 50.136 for Toni Elias. So Raj Hayden has it just barely, and Josh is just trying so hard to go with them. But the pace down the front straightaway, these Yosh bikes have just been a little bit faster on the weekend than has the Yamahas.
So it looked like that Bobby Fong, who was sitting second in points and really had an opportunity here to win his 6th of the season, just pushing too hard to stay with Cameron Beaubier, and he has exited the race. And that leaves Cam Beaubier now in 4th spot, Jason, and kind of in no man's land right now, as Beaubier last time by was about 0.4 of a second slower than his teammate Josh Hayes.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Oh, Toni Elias runs real wide and lets Raj catch right back up. That's going to help get Josh Hayes a little bit closer. So just when we started coming to our screen, we saw Josh. I looked at, and there he goes again. So I wonder if Tony's got a problem, an oil leak or something. He's got to have something going weird there, Greg, because even after he just slowed the bike down and came through the corner, it's going to be really interesting to watch down into turn 1 here. Both his problems have been in left-hand corners, turn 13, turn 15. So let's hope he can get through this corner nice and comfortable.
Yeah, Tony gets the thing slowed down. It looks like typical Tony. Sends it sideways and he gets it back down to the apex.
Yep.
So the door's been open for Roger Hayden right now. This is the left-hander that Jason's talking, or right-handers now. It doesn't look like anything. Here's another look.
But you can see he goes in here, he loses. That's a very strange place to lose it. Looks down, looks at something. Now watch again as he goes to get on the gas. Now he's up a little higher in the track than normal, but you can see the bike's, that's kind of weird. The bike just snaps sideways on him even more. So that's going to be something that we'll have to continue to keep an eye on.
He was definitely messing around with the rear brake. I could see his foot working that rear brake. But here we go, back. So Toni Elias, he's pretty confident, Jay, even though he had that incident. Doesn't seem to bother him. He takes a look over his shoulder. He's trying to get it in there. And Roger Hayden with a little wider line. Jay talked about, he just gets it right down to the bottom of the racetrack. Toni Elias does so quickly.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that you don't have to start your turn at the very outside edge of the racetrack. Toni Elias can run anywhere on the track, and he's able to put his bike anywhere he wants. So, it's something for a lot of people, even at home. You can look at it and you can see the different lines these guys take. Even though they're on the same team, they're running in different spots, trying different things. If this was the last lap, I'm almost positive Roger's going to be defending that tight line, so try to make it to where Tony can't do that to him.
Josh Hayes, number 4, multiple time Superbike champ here, trying to salvage a bit of an interesting season for him. He's only been on the podium 3 times all year, with a win and a couple of 3rd place finishes for the number 4. And he's starting to really come on lately, even though he's still nursing some soreness from a crash he had a couple of weeks ago at MotoAmerica. So across the stripe now, 50.8 for both Yoshumira Suzuki riders and a 50.9 for Hayes. And again, look up the top of your screen. There's Cam Beaubier, kind of lost in no man's land. He was the fastest rider on the racetrack last time around, but it was only by a 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, Tony's kind of regathered everything up. So be interesting to talk to him after the race and see exactly what happened on that one lap in those couple of turns. But now we're just going to see if these guys can start putting some lap times together. They were just starting to pull away from Josh when all that started to happen. And Josh's bike still looks really good to me. We're going to pay attention in turn 5 as they come into 5. You're going to see this is the spot. This next, as they come out of this left. Turn 6 is the place where Tony likes to stay on the right-hand side of the track and go underneath Raj. And here he goes again, Greg.
So there goes Toni Elias. Again, he takes a look over his shoulder. He's committed to it, but not like he doesn't want to cause an incident. You can tell by the way he just glances over his left shoulder to see how close his teammate is.
He's not afraid to just kind of sit there on that inside curbing and have the brake lever pulled on and just make sure and let Raj come back across the front of him. He's not afraid to do that, but yeah, you just got to make sure that when you do commit, you got to commit to it, and he wants to try to do it without running into his teammate for sure.
Yeah, that's the biggest no-no in all of racing, taking your teammate out. We saw earlier in the broadcast when Yamaha's got together in the Super Sport class of J.D. Beach and Garrett Gerloff. Yoshumira Suzuki does not want that incident. So, working lap 8 of 17 here, it's Roger Hayden on the Yoshumira Suzuki, who already has a race win this season compared to his teammate Toni Elias, who has 5 race wins. Roger Hayden winning in the 5th race of the season, which was at Virginia International Raceway, the first race we had. And Roger is so hungry to win another race.
He really needs to. If I'm being honest, he needs to win another race because Tony's got a 25-point lead on him right now, and so he's got to do his best to try to bridge that gap a little bit, and at least throw a warning shot out there that, hey, we're close, and you know, I want to win some of these races too. So here you go.
Here's a Yamaha slow-mo for you. Taking a look at Josh Hayes getting through a nice left-hand corner.
Yep, right through the last turn, Greg, turn 15, and his bike still looks like he's got a lot of grip. It doesn't look like a grip issue, but when I sit there and I glance at this board here that's telling me the fastest speeds down the front straightaway, Josh is pretty consistently 3 to 5, 6 mile an hour down to these Yosh bikes, especially when they start working together. You can see how hard he's running into turn 5 just to try to keep these guys close, and he's close. You know, Josh is still right there.
Here comes Toni up the inside again, so late on the brakes. Now he'll get that position. And can he hold it nice and tight? So Toni Elias back around his teammate, Roger Hayden. Now, will Toni try to put his head down and brake and get a gap over his teammate, Roger Hayden? As now you can see the pace starting to get a little bit hectic when Toni Elias gets out front.
Yeah, guaranteed he's going to put his head down and try to make a little bit of a breakaway here. We'll see what he's able to do. And, you know, we're going to be really watching this, not this turn, but the next couple turns coming up. And it's just typical Toni. He's shown everybody what he's going to do. He's going to do this to you every time in turn 6, but right when it looks like he's going to run wide, he's still able to keep that bike turned and pull it back down. Tell you what, Greg, at this level, it's a big advantage to be able to do that on your bike. You know,
looking at that too, Jason. You know, one of the things that these modern super bikes have on them is what we call auto blip. So you have a quick shifter that you just don't have to work the clutch, and then auto blip is downshift. But Toni, when he's aggressive, he grabs that clutch lever and still uses it, man. A skill that a lot of riders are not learning how to do right now in the smaller classes with you know, the advent of auto blip in working its way into the 600s.
He's old school. He's an old school guy is Toni, and it's great that you mentioned it because I noticed it a lot yesterday, and I failed to mention it. Here you go, Kyle Wyman and Josh Hayden in this battle for 5th. So a couple Yamahas going after each other. Kyle coming back from a head injury that he had at Donington Park. He didn't get to ride with us at the last round, so it's good to see him back going again, and Josh Hayden right behind him.
Kyle Wyman on the Motivation USA Lucas Oil KWR racing machine, that privateer effort that he puts together. And like Jason said, coming back from head injury and finishing 6th yesterday, it would certainly be a big improvement. There's a look at Matthew Skoltz now. He's your leader in the Superstock 1000 class, that Mazaz Superstock 1000 Hot Championship, as he had a 1-point lead coming into this. And with Bobby Fong retired from the race, he can gain maximum points on his rival.
Yeah, that's going to be a big thing for Matthew, and Chuck and all the Yamalu boys down there at Westby team, they're going to be really happy to see this right now. He's just kind of running a lonely race by himself, running very, very consistent lap times though right now, and just probably doing a little bit of pit board watching to see what's going on behind him, just off his pit board. These two Yosh bikes have finally broke the resolve a little bit here of Josh Hayes on this lap.
Watching the lead right now in this Motul Superbike class, and you can tell the distinction between a Superbike and a Bazaz Superstock 1000 bike by the way that the number plates are. So really open number plates for any number as long as it's readable in the Superbike class. And you can see the difference there of the two Yoshumira Suzuki bikes, giving you an opportunity to distinguish easily, especially when you come here to a MotoAmerica race, what they're all about. Last time by the stripe, 150.6 for Toni, 150.7 for Roger, and a 151.3 for Hayes. So Hayes starting to lose it a little bit.
Do you see something there back there in fourth coming forward a little bit?
I did.
I kind of see Cameron Beaubier getting bigger in our screen. In the last couple laps, he's been the fastest man on the track with 7 to go. He's been the fastest. These two guys, they got to work together to keep that gap, because I have a feeling that Cameron's on his way forward. Look at Roger's bike sliding through that turn. If you come here and you watch a race, you'll see that is the fastest turn on the track. And he's got the thing sideways in there, but look at Cameron Beaubier now.
Cam Beaubier, a 150.4, like Jason said, the fastest man on the racetrack, and his personal fast lap. So Beaubier really starting to feel the rhythm here of his Monster Energy Yamalube Yamaha R1 as he's chasing down his teammate Josh Hayes. Hannah mentioned it before, though, as we're so late in this race, they are on that softer option Dunlop tire of the Yamaha riders, and Hayes told me, though, that when push came to shove, he just couldn't get a little extra out of that tire, but it was very consistent performance the entire race. And so Cameron Beaubier really starting to feel out this bike and put the demons of crashing behind him.
There's a slow motion look at Cameron off into turn 1 right now. The Yamaha slow-mo that showcases our Yamaha rider here, Cameron Beaubier, and he's moving forward. I'm looking at his split times right now. He's gone as fast as first split of the race for him personally. So we'll look at these lap times when they come through.
Beautiful.
And we'll see if he's closing up at all.
Love those super slow-mo shots. And provided, of course, by Yamaha, looking awesome. But it's these two Yoshumira Suzuki pilots that are starting to get away as Cam Beaubier is starting to sniff that final podium position. Is there enough time, if Cam Beaubier can get around his teammate, to chase down the Yoshumira Suzuki riders? There's about 2 seconds in between.
Josh's tire, something's really gone off, because he's literally losing probably about a second a lap or 3/4 of a second a lap now. And if Cameron's on the same tire, he's maybe made it last just a little bit better. So maybe those early laps for Josh made it a little bit harder. So you're going to notice through this whole section right here, if Cameron can really run up on him through this next fast left, he's going to be able to get a run on Josh. And you can see Josh looks a little pensive through there as Cameron is going to pull up to the left. Josh knew.
Yeah.
He probably could hear it, and he also could kind of feel it. As a rider, you kind of feel when there's somebody pushing from behind you. And now Cameron, we'll see if he's able to close this gap with 6 to go, Greg. He's only 2.3 behind those guys, and he was quicker than the two Yosh bikes that lap again.
So can Cam Beaubier start to mount an incredible charge and reel in the two Yoshumira Suzukis of Toni Elias and Roger Hayden? About 0.3 of a second separate Toni and Roger at this point. And that would be a huge surprise. Keep in mind that there are pit boards when they come across start-finish line, so they only get to see that info about every 1 minute and 50 seconds at this point. So Toni Elias, Jason, honestly, looking at Roger Hayden right now, Toni Elias is trying to put his head down and break Raj, but Raj is keeping him right there and keeping him very honest.
It's keeping him honest, and this is what we've seen Raj do so much of, is be able to keep these guys honest. And what I'm really hoping to see is that he can take a shot at Toni at some point here in the closing laps, and he's definitely close enough. And I feel like Toni's tried to put some good laps down here at the end, and it doesn't look like he's been able to get away.
He doesn't, but Toni also is a very smart racer, and he knows maybe I just have to keep him in tow, and then the last 2 laps, there's some things that he's maybe holding back. Toni Elias into turn number 1 with his teammate Roger Hayden. Cam Beaubier now across the stripe up into 3rd. Josh Hayes, Kyle Wyman, Josh Herron, Matthew Skoltz, the first of our Bazaz Superstock 1000 riders. Then Jake Lewis in 2nd spot, and Bryce Prince
doing a great job as Bryce.
In 9th, yeah, and just behind him, Hayden Gillum. So Bryce Prince back there. There's a good look at Kyle Wyman on the 33, and that is a Superbike battle between Wyman and Herron. That's the battle for 5th, and it continues to rage on as Roger Hayden, last time by the stripe, by the way, Jason, set the fastest trap speed, 188.7 miles per hour.
Yeah, and that's just getting in that draft in the perfect spot and then just having it tow you up to the back of somebody. And you can see Matthew Skoltz coming into our view, and there's that battle that you were talking about, Greg, between Lewis back there and Bryce Prince. But this guy's doing a fantastic job just keeping those other 2 Superstock bikes at bay. And he's gonna go to bed tonight with a little bit bigger points lead if he can keep this bike going the direction it's going right now. now.
Yamalu Westby Racing out of South Africa. Matthew Skultz doing a great job. He's your championship points leader in the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class. Now we're dropping back. Number 85 is Jake Lewis out of Owensboro, Kentucky on the M4 X-Star Suzuki. They basically just said, this bike isn't working for him right now, and so he's actually on a gamble of a motorcycle, and it was all about grip. They could not find enough grip for him, so they changed the attitude of the motorcycle, put a lot more weight on the rear end to try to get more heat and more grip in the tire, and right now it seems to be working for Jake Lewis. And then there's Bryce Prince on the HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mean Yamaha, number 74 out of Bakersfield, California, and he is our reigning champion from the Superstock 600 class from last year, and he's still coming to terms with this motorcycle. But so far this season, Bryce Prince in the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class has had one podium appearance in round number 4, which was Road Atlanta, where he finished 3rd. So right now in a good position to get back up on the podium.
Yep, and you can see it's a great story for Bryce and that whole team. He's been working hard on getting that 1000, but we're back at the front now, looking at these two guys running 50.7, 50.6 that last lap through, and they're both doing some sliding through turn 4. You can see Cameron just hasn't been able to close that gap. In fact, he's lost a little bit. These guys have dropped the pace just a little bit more than the lap prior to this. They were a couple tenths quicker. But you know, the thing is Roger's got to start making a plan of where he thinks he might be able to go past Toni. He's in there a little deep there, wasn't he, Greg? You can tell that Raj had the thing backing in as well as Toni. Toni looks like you can always tell Tony's posture changes a little when he starts riding that little bit extra to get that little extra out of the bike. Roger's bike looks a lot better through here today to me than it did yesterday. He wasn't able to roll some of this as well as he did as Toni was yesterday. So it looks a little bit better there today to me.
You can see at the bottom of your screen there the intervals, interval 1, interval 2. So as we take a look at that gap and see those little tiny mistakes that are made by either rider can show. And look at Roger Hayden in this next interval, was able to close it down a couple of tenths, and Tony's wide.
That's what he did a couple laps ago. Same exact thing. He just gets into 13. He gets a little bit wide, kind of just self-preserves himself, gets the bike upright so it doesn't have any problems. But he's able to clean up turn 15 this time. But that's going to help Raj for sure. Hopefully get in the draft and see if he can do something with 4 to go as they go down this front straightaway.
Toni gets a superior drive coming onto the front straightaway. So we know in terms of race strategy with 3 laps to go that Roger Hayden has got to be leading Toni Elias out of the final corner as Toni goes nice and sideways into, God, he's so deep and has so much control over that GSX-R 1000.
And the other thing about it too, you know, I made note of it yesterday that his bike snaps back fairly quickly. You see this battle for 5th still raging on, and they've caught Roy Holster on the Jelly Bellies R1. So they're probably going to be able to sneak underneath him as they head off into turn 2.
Roy doing a good job as Josh Herron has gotten around Kyle Wyman, but Roy Holster, it's his first race weekend he's been able to qualify for on that Jelly Bellies machine, and that also powered by Mean Motorsports. But Roy Holster right there doing a good job of continuing to race his race while this battle continues to go on for 5th spot between Josh Herron and Kyle Wyman.
Yeah, these guys have been having a race-long battle ever since Josh got stood up from Bobby Fong in turn 3 there. These two guys have been going after each other the whole time. So both good guys, both aggressive riders. So it's another one of those races that within a race is going to come down to the last lap for sure.
Number 2, Josh Herron out of Dublin, Georgia. HelmetSounds.com, Western Services, Mean Yamaha. The 33 is Kyle Wyman, that privateer effort out of New York on the Motivation USA Lucas Oil KWR machine. That effort continues to go on here as Kyle Wyman and his crew continue to put together this motorcycle and try to make the best package. And this is exactly what Superbike was designed for. Have those factory teams going up against these privateer teams. And the way the rules are written is try to at least get parity across the board. But when the cream rises to the top like it is right here, Toni Elias and Roger Hayden with James looking on, holding the pit board right there.
Last lap down the front straightaway, Greg. Roger Hayden, 190 mile an hour.
Unbelievable.
Fastest we've seen all weekend down that front straight. And, you know, now both these bikes are backing in a little bit. But the thing about Tony's bike today, it doesn't seem like when it backs in that it snaps back as much. I don't know if he made any adjustments or anything, but doesn't look as unstable when he starts to tip it into the corner.
Yeah, they worked a lot on that, on the balance of that motorcycle, and that's really been the big thing. Some new parts coming from Japan have allowed Toni and his crew to get the motorcycle a little bit more comfortable for him. There were some parts that were available that Toni didn't like, and so they've gone back to some old parts. So it's just a combination of being able to ride and test and use those practice and qualifying sessions to get the most out of his motorcycle. And like I said towards the beginning of the broadcast, when you have a rider like Toni Elias have a motorcycle where he says we don't make any adjustments for race number 1, and after race number 1 we don't need to make any adjustments for race number 2, that can be dangerous for the rest of the field. But it seems like Roger Hayden and his crew have really sorted some stuff out, as Roger's so close right now. But coming up here on that final lap, Jason, Roger Hayden, even though he was able to do 190 miles an hour, has got to be closer to Toni than this,
yes,
or else Toni's going to be able to eke away from him. And Toni knows that it's a lap and a half to go. So Toni with his head down right now, trying to make a break from his teammate and win his 6th of the season.
His bike's moving around really a lot out of that turn there, and Roger's able to pull up a little bit closer. But this is where Roger's got to be absolutely perfect right now. He's got to be perfect through this right, and he's got to be perfect through this next left, and he's got to just be able to get close enough to draft him down this big front straightaway here. And you know, Toni kind of rolls through the middle of this corner a little bit faster than Raj, and he's able to get on the gas. But see how his bike's moving around a lot more? He's using a little bit more exit. But now we got the white flag lap, and Raj is just too far behind. But he can still get a run through turn 3. If he can get close enough out of turn 1 here as they come down, he's not going to be able to go by him here. You see Toni getting in awful fast, getting that bike slowed down. He's a little bit wide.
A little bit wider than normal. Couldn't quite get it down there, but he gets it down to the bottom to that apex on the exit. But Roger Hayden's closer than we've seen.
Yep, but he's got to get a good run through this next double left. If he can get a good run through this next double left, you can actually get a little whiff of a draft coming out of there and do a pass down to turn 5 as we go back and look at Matthew Skoltz leading Superstock race going into the final lap also.
Matthew Skoltz leading the way here. The Pizzazz Superstock 1000 on this final lap. He's in 7th overall, but he's got quite a nice lead over the next rider behind him, Jake Lewis and Bryce Prince. So back up front, Toni Elias, man, it looks like he's pulling the pin right now, Jason.
Yeah, it's just too hard to go by him because he closes off all of his entries and he's still able to get the bike slowed down. So it's almost like he can go in there as fast as everybody else, closing off his entry, gets the bike stopped mid-corner, and he's able to still get the bike turned. Roger's in there. You can see he's trying because he's just run off the curbing just a little bit. By running off the curb, I mean, he was 2 or 3 feet away from it. But now it's going to be really hard for Roger to do anything. Now this next left is where Toni's been having the bike spin up a lot. Roger's been a little bit better out of here, but he's just not close enough.
But Toni Elias, no big mistake there. Gets the motorcycle in a nice straight line on acceleration. Only a couple of bike lengths in between them, but only a couple corners left. And Roger Hayden trying to close down the gap. He's a little closer there, but Toni has got this section dialed in. So here comes number 24, Toni Elias, through this left-hand corner. And look at the exit speed as Toni gets on the gas. And it's the run to the checkered flag. And Toni Elias will take victory once again here at Utah Motorsports Campus with Roger Hayden in 2nd spot. And there comes the number 1 of Cam Beaubier.
Good run for Cameron, and you can see Toni and Raj talking to each other. Josh Hayes, be interested to see what happened with him finishing 4th though. And then this big battle for 5th between Heron and Wyman.
And that goes to Josh Heron. He will take 5th, Wyman his 2nd 6th place finish. And then it's the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 championship points leader, Matthew Skoltz. And that battle for the final podium spots, it goes to Jake Lewis, Bryce Prince, and just behind them, Hayden Gillum, who just misses it by 0.3 of a second.
And he was closing in the whole time was Hayden. I was kind of watching that out of our window here. Every lap he was closing it down on those 2 guys, and at the end he just needed 1 more lap. But awesome job for Jake Lewis and for Bryce Prince. Good to see Bryce back up on the podium.
So the 6th win of the season in the MoTool Superbike class for the Spaniard, Toni Elias, riding the 2017 GSXR 1000 for the Yoshumira Suzuki crew. Top speed 187 miles an hour when he was pushing his own air and actually getting a little bit of suction off of his teammate as well. With that Spider-Man helmet, he'll be happy with the result from this race. So Toni Elias now starting a little run of his own in terms of race wins, his 6th, but also his 3rd in a row now.
So dangerous for these guys, Greg. The beginning of the year, I said if they continue to get this bike better, through preseason testing and things, and they're starting to find their stride as the Yoshumira crew. Those guys all work so hard, and when you're on a new motorcycle, people think, oh, it's going to be a big advantage. At the beginning, it's always not necessarily a big advantage, as you and I know. And now going into the second half of the season, this guy's got some momentum.
They're working awfully hard to continue to develop this bike, and if they keep going in the direction they're going, Yamaha's got to go back to Cypress, California and start digging deep and figuring out what they've got to do in order to get those Yamahas up front. But Toni Elias winning here today. That's, by the way, Jason, it's only the 2nd double victory in the MotoAmerica Superbike class that we've seen. Toni did it in the first 2 races of the season in Texas, and now does it again, does the double here in Utah. So Roger Hayden, there's no doubt that Roger put everything he had into that one. He just was a couple of tenths off. The margin of victory ended up being just under half a second, but Roger seemed to be a lot closer than that all race long.
Yeah, he was right there again. As usual, Roger's always just right there, but it just seems like Toni's bike just works a little bit better in some of the key places, and Rog just wasn't able to get close enough. But I'll tell you, Rog told me this morning, he's like, I want to be able to race with him. I want to be able to be close enough to him, and he was the whole race, so maybe he could take some solace in that, but I know he wants to start winning some of these races.
So Toni Elias, another victory here in Utah, half a second. Look at the bottom part of your screen over Cam Beaubier. Josh Hayes finishing in 4th, and Heron 5th, and Kyle Wyman in 6th. So Wyman, a good run for him. Is there some other superbikes that are further back in the field? But it's at Matthew Skultz, without Bobby Fong finishing this race, is now going to have a 26-point lead in the championship. And then even more than that over Jake Lewis and Bryce Prince. So look at Parc Ferme on where the riders get to come in and get congratulated by their crew, by their family, by their friends, and they'll wheel those bikes in there. So we'll take a break here on beIN Sports as we enjoyed that race action. On the other side of the commercial break, you'll want to stay with us because Hannah will be down there talking to the riders and get their vision of how their race went. We'll be back. Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus in the championship of Utah here in MotoAmerica. The MotoAmerica Superbike class, the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 races are done. And quite an exciting race all the way around as Toni Elias and Roger Hayden ended up being the class of the field here. And we really thought Roger Hayden was going to give something to Toni Elias, but no, Toni walked away with the victory, so he gets to talk to Hannah first.
That's right, 6th race win of the season for you, 2nd this weekend. Tell us how you did it.
Well, today I tried to stay away to do the same mistake as yesterday. Roger was stronger. I tried to pass him very quickly, but always when I was trying to open some gap, he gave me good answers. Well, at the end, looks like I could open some gap. When I take 2-3 tenths, I did one mistake, then another mistake, back to the second position, pass him again, do the same history, same mistakes. At the end, I wanted to be in front. I knew he was trying so hard today. He wanted to win, and I did my best. I ride at 100%, and he arrived very close, but he couldn't try to pass me, and that's the best. We did a very good weekend, very solid. We work well, thanks to my team because they are pushing a lot and working a lot. And well, championship is long. We have some comfortable situation, but I'm not quite. I will continue pushing, trying to open more gap. Some days it's possible, some other no. For the moment, everything is going in the right direction.
All right, congratulations. Thanks, Toni.
Congratulations to Toni Elias. Like Hannah mentioned, his 6th win of the year. And Jason, when Toni has finished a race, He's only won or finished second. 6 wins, 3 second-place finishes, and that 1 DNF in that incident involved at VIR. Toni Elias, I think it's safe to say at the halfway point of the season, is on fire.
Yeah, well, to be fair, when you say it like you just said it, it's pretty dominant. And we know Cameron's won some races, and we know Roger's won a race. And the thing is that if these guys are going to get close, the only way you're going to do it is you got to rough him up. That's what was going on at the beginning of the year. And I'm not talking dirty. I'm saying that you're going to have to take shots at him.
So Roger Hayden finishes second today, his 7th podium appearance of the season, and he's with Hannah.
Another second place finish for you this weekend. You had a really good battle with your teammate, Toni. You just couldn't get close enough. Tell me about your race.
No, I got to thank the whole Yoshumira Suzuki team. We made some changes last night and definitely made a lot of improvement. We could actually race Toni today and just tried to stay close enough. Our pace was pretty close to try to make a move at the end, but this last lap he didn't make any mistakes. So, never really happy with second, but after yesterday he beat us pretty bad, so I felt good to come back and, make him earn it today. So thanks to the team, thanks to all my sponsors, Arai Helmets, Alpine Star, Monster Energy, and my family, and, looking forward to Laguna.
Thanks, Roger.
All right, Roger Hayden, congratulations to him. That's his 5th second-place finish, and that's a lot of times to be runner-up, Jason.
Yeah, it is. And, knowing Roger's the way we know him, I know he's frustrated. He puts a good face on for this, and I know he will take something away from being closer to Toni today, but he wants to be in front of him, and he wants to win these races. And he was close again today, and it's just a matter of time. And maybe when they come, they'll come in bunches when he starts winning.
Well, there's been 10 races so far this season in the Motul Superbike class, and 8 times this rider has been on the podium. He's with Hannah.
I was just welcoming Cam back. I said I haven't seen him in a little while after what's been a pretty tough weekend for him. He seems really happy to be back on the podium, so tell us about your race.
Yeah, I forgot what it was like over here, No, man, really tough weekend. Destroyed a bike on Friday. I started the first practice just feeling really good, flowing with my R1, and I was like, man, this is going to be a good weekend. Boom, destroyed a bike. Had my guys, they stayed till 11:30, 12 at night repairing my bike, and then I went and did it again in race 1. So definitely really happy that we put that behind us the last 2 days and come out of here with a podium. We struggled here a little bit in the past. But yeah, looking forward to the next races. Big thanks to my whole Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team for working so hard, and I definitely want to repay them in the next couple races.
Thanks, Cam. Congrats.
Well, I think there's the hashtag right now. If you're on social media talking about this race, hashtag boom destroyed a bike.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a frustrating thing when you roll out, you feel great for the weekend, and it's a track that you like, and next thing you know, you burn him one to the ground like you did on Friday, poor guy, and then to do it again yesterday, it just, that whole crew of the guys that he used to have down there are amazing, and they put together a good R1 for him today to at least get back up on that podium.
So a good bit to think about over the next couple of weeks as we head off into Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. But here's a recap of the Dunlop results as Toni Elias with just about a half-a-second victory over Roger Hayden, Cambobier, Josh Hayes, but a good run early on. You can tell he had a bit of a thing going on. We'll find out about that during these next couple of weeks. Josh Herron and Kyle Wyman, and then Matthew Skoltz, who wins the Superstock 1000 race in this one. Jake Lewis and Bryce Prince will stand on the podium in that Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class, finishing 7th, 8th, and 9th. But Toni Elias, man, what a performance he's putting on as we look back. And poor Hayden Gilliman just
right there,
0.3 of a second away from the podium. Jason DeSalvo on the BMW back in race action, finishing just outside the top 10 with Eslick, Anthony Flinders, Matthew Orange, Rory Holster, and our non-finisher Bobby Fong rounding out the 17 riders. So a good race today, half-a-second victory. As we take a look at those points, it's now Toni Elias with 30 over Roger Hayden, Cambobier 48 back. And who would have ever thought that Josh Hayes would be 99 points back at this point in the season? And then Skoltz, Fong, and Herron in the mix as well. You can see that battle for 5th overall in the Motul Superbike class getting pretty tight between Skoltz, Fong, and Herron. Lewis in the mix as well. That was a good look at our Liqui Championship standings. Here's our Motul podium as Cambobier gets the interview here at the racetrack for all the fans that have stuck around to check out the podium and cheer these riders on. Yoshumira Suzuki 1-2 again on the day for the Motul Superbike class. We're going to take a break here on BN Sports, but we still have more coming from Utah Motorsports Campus in Tooele, Utah. It is the championship of Utah here for MotoAmerica, so don't go anywhere. There's more coming.